that we subscribe to, for instance, to consider Article 66.
Welcome back from the break. You're still live on Metro Sports with me, Michael Kofi Odro. Show running between now and midday, where we bring you the midday edition of Newsbeat. For the first part of the show, the Honorable Kofi Adams, Member of Parliament for Boehm Constituency and Minister for Sports and Recreation, is my guest on this edition of the show. Good morning, Honorable, and thanks for the time.
Good morning.
I must say that we're really grateful that...
My namesake, Kofi.
Yes.
So Kofi meets Kofi.
Kofi meets Kofi. And I've always said that the best day among the 7 days is Friday. And what it obviously means that the best is Kofi.
That's
you find
true.
The best.
You can't get anything better beyond Kofi.
Beyond Kofi. Great. Honorable, how has it? I mean, you're barely a week into office. 2 days to mark a week in office as the Minister of Youth and Sport. How has it been like?
Well, I know it will take, if it goes some time to accept the fact that youth has been taking that ministry. Now, it's sports and recreation. Yeah. And youth is also separate and being handled by another substantive minister. Yeah. Even we, those who have been appointed, even make same mistakes. Or sometimes it takes us quite some time to accept that staff will continue to refer to the ministry as such. And we are going through the processes of changing a number of things. So we can, it's a new ministry, if I would call it that way, because it used to be youth and sports, and now 2 ministries have been created out of that. First and foremost, it shows the importance His Excellency the President attached to the youth and their development, and sports and its development. Because at the time, he's assured the nation of reducing size of government and reducing number of ministries and lumping some up. He sought to separate the youth and sports. So that tells you the commitment the leader of the country has for youth development and also our sports development.
What influenced that decision?
Well, that's what I'm just trying to sum it up. That one, it is government and the president's intention to pay particular attention to the bulk of the nation are youthful, and so it needs some proper attention for their development. At the same time, sports is big. sports has various segments that in the past either we have not paid much attention to it and have just maybe run it more like, oh, it's something social for our entertainment and what have you, but it should not end there. Okay. There's sports business, there's sports health, there's sports for the development, sports for unification, and so on and so forth. So there are various facets that we haven't taken the trouble to be able to develop, and we haven't nurtured and followed through talents to the levels of bringing them to what? The professional status where we can benefit directly and indirectly. So now that it's been separated, a minister will not have a divided attention of, I'm dealing with sports, I'm dealing with matters related to youth, matters of their well-being, matters of their employment needs, their educational needs, and what have you. That kind of division of mind will not occur anymore. So there will be a direct focus on sports and recreational sports. So I believe that that informs the vision of, or that informed the decision of the president based on this vision to separate that ministry and create. Does that take off
some form of burden from the sports ministry?
Well, I see it more like giving you a focus and not a burden. Because in the past, what has happened is that we all have 24 hours a day, and we have 7 days in a week. We don't have anything more than that in a week. We don't have more than 24 hours a day. So what was happening and what would have happened is that you do what it is that you can and ignore what it is that you would have to ignore sometimes. Okay. But with this situation now, you are able to cover more. Okay. So I don't see it necessarily as taking some pressure off, but it is allowing you to have a focused mind and a focused arrangement of things. So pressure is not going to be off. The pressure will still be there. You guys will still do your morning shows. You will do your afternoon shows. You will do your evening shows that are sports related. You will still raise all the questions that must be raised and all the answers that you want should be provided. So that's for the pressure. I don't think that is going to go away.
Okay. Because you've brought up, it was something I was going to delve into later, but because you've brought up the issue of the media, let me ask you, and a number of your colleagues have spoken about the media and how they feel that the sports media creates pressure for the sports ministry, how the sports media creates problems for the sports ministry, so that some of your colleagues even came out to say that they don't want to go to the sports ministry because of the media. Is the sports media a problem for the ministry?
Well, I see it as a huge asset.
Okay.
I don't see it as a problem. I see an asset that is available for the sports ministry to utilize and help in the development and promotion of sports. Because, look, whilst other ministries may be looking to pay for platforms to push their agenda, the sports ministry is having it for free. In the morning, you have not less than 200 platforms that will at least dedicate between 20-30 minutes to 1 hour or more just discussing sports. In the afternoon, you may have a repeat with maybe a lesser number and another in the evening. So I see it as an asset and not really a problem. Personally, I'm someone who is media friendly. And so I know, well, the media sometimes can be very troubling. Sometimes they would want to pull out certain things. You must be firm and know what to put out there. As a policy maker, know that even if they are asking you the questions, you have an agenda. So you set the agenda, so you drive it. But it is when you refuse to engage them, then they will bring what they think that they must discuss, and you will be found wanting. So I see the media as an asset. that must be utilized to promote sports and help develop it. But if you don't engage them rightfully, then it will become a negativity. But I see it seriously as an asset.
We'll get into the specifics where we look at football, we look at athletics, boxing, the major sports, and then the other ones which we may box together because of the time. But for the few days you have been in office, generally, what is the state of our sports?
Well. Our sports, we all know, I wouldn't say it's not dead. But our sports has been in very serious challenge. Our sports have had so many difficulties. Funding has not been good. And where funding has been made available also, corruption has taken the center stage of these funds. And the lack of professionals in the field has really not helped the growth of the sport. Truly speaking, you pick many disciplines of the sports that we have around, and we do not have enough professionals to help promote it. It is a fact that I mentioned you may have over 200 media platforms in the morning that discuss sports. But when you go deep down, you would observe that we may all be discussing just football, boxing, athletics, maybe volleyball, and netball, and hockey. There are many other sports we don't even talk about. And there are times, if you bring some of those sports even, there is not a single media house that has someone who understands that sport and can talk about it. And so we need to also grow ourselves and grow persons who specialize in various sporting disciplines. That you will know that if you are talking about maybe tech ball, this person understands it so well, know how it is called, know how what governs the game, the governance of that game. So we need to continue to work on the matter of professionalism. That is why President Mohammed's vision of building a university that is dedicated for sports is another way to go. So we can train people. You train persons in sports medicine, sports nutrition, sports management, sports as business, its promotion, its development, media and reporting, and so on and so forth. So you do not leave the sport to a situation where, because I have played maybe this game or I've been an athlete before, when I retire, then I just become a coach because I have practiced that sport before. You must go through some training, because there's a difference between practicing a sport and teaching the sport. There are two different things. But unfortunately, because we do not train people in those fields, we tend to accept that, okay, once you've practiced this particular sport, you can equally also teach it or coach it. And that is how we have managed things in the past. We need to shift from that. So these and many more are the challenges I see our sport face. Funding is there, and I will repeat that funding has been a challenge. But where funds have also been made available, corruption have eaten away the funds. And that is why you read books and you see so much has been committed for this, and you go to the ground and you don't find what those monies committed to were expected to produce. So corruption in sports is another challenge that we really must look at. Of course, fairness, discipline is a challenge, and that explains why recently we've been discussing a matter of hooliganism and so on, leading to a death of a fan in Soatremine, Francis Yao Frimpong. So we have so much to do in the area of sports.
But in all of this,
the potential is there.
In all of this, which of them is our biggest challenge? You've mentioned the gap in the quality of personnel, you've mentioned funding, you've mentioned corruption, you've mentioned discipline. Which is our biggest challenge when it comes to sports development?
Well, so far I've been reading, and I must say that there are many documents in draft stage that individuals have done in relation to helping the development of sports. My intention is to be able to collect these as quickly as possible, then we integrate them so we can have a full sports policy. Okay. What we do have now, the act, for example, that was passed in 2016, is more focused at the National Sports Authority and what it is that they can do with our federations and our associations. But we need to have a national sports policy that we know can help us. The material is there in silos. Individuals have written certain things, but there's a need to bring them together. So, knowing this, what quickly comes to mind will be the funding source to be able to promote, develop and promote our sports. So it means
funding is our biggest challenge?
Funding is our biggest challenge. Funding remains our biggest challenge.
How do we deal with this challenge? How do you hope to deal with the challenge of funding sports?
One, I see a certain level of commitment by the President of the Republic. Otherwise, he will not be separating the youth from sports at the time he was seeking to reduce size of government and number of ministries. So it means that there's a commitment to helping develop and promote sports. That will explain why he did what he did. So there's that commitment. So I am happy about that. So with that commitment means that the finance minister will have to factor the commitment of the president in his budgetary allocation to the ministry. No doubt about that. Okay. And subsequently, I believe that as a minister and together with other stakeholders, we need to develop means through which we can also raise funds. Okay. Just this morning when I entered your studio here, I was having a conversation with some colleagues of yours, and they brought out very wonderful ideas that I believe if we work on, it can help us promote our sports even better, generate a lot more revenue, and be able to support various disciplines. Of course, pushing on, in the past we attempted a sports lottery. It didn't see the light of day. Private persons have come to establish lotteries and bets that are benefiting from sports. Whether local or foreign sports, they are benefiting from it, making money, making profit. What stops the state itself or the sports ministry from introducing a sports lottery that will end up generating enough fund to support the sport? It's another area that we necessarily must look into. Then, of course, corporates. You get a corporate sponsorship to increase by making your sports attractive, making sure that you reduce acts of hooliganism. When you reduce acts of hooliganism, the corporate wouldn't mind associating their brand with your sports. But if we have instances where the corporate governance of our clubs is so poor, they are not answerable, the corporate governance not right in place, and it will be difficult for the corporate world to want to put in their money. So clubs must also sit up and begin to position themselves right and make sure that they do what is right. Fans must behave themselves. And of course, the playing body itself must also behave itself. So all these will help rally the corporate world around. And again, because like I said earlier, the commitment that the president have shown to sports and the youth, he will be more than willing to push government to do what will help the corporates so they can continue to invest in our sports.
Now, talking about funding sports, and many have shared diverse views on the president's position of abolition of scrapping the betting tax. And many ideas have come up. There are those that have said that we could review it. There are those that are for the outright scrapping of the betting tax. There are those that are for the maintenance of the betting tax. Not too sure what your position is, whether for a review, maintaining it, or scrapping it.
Well, my position is the position that the party adopted then and the government is going to be implementing now. And that is to scrap the tax on winnings, what we describe as the betting tax. I think that it must go. The tax on winnings must go. I feel that it's an unfair tax because I bet every day I don't win. Nobody gives me anything. So the day I win, the wins that I'm taking, then you say you are taxing the wins. If there's a way those wins could be captured as part of your income, so that at the end of the year, when you are filing your various tax processes, a way is found for you to contribute a bit, so be it. But to directly tax the wins, I think that is wrong. But my position has been that the tax on stakes, because for every stake there's a tax on it. So the tax on the stakes, a percentage of that tax should be put in a sports fund. So this one, I am going to be talking to the president. I'm going to try to convince colleagues at cabinet meetings and convince the finance minister and what have you that the tax on stakes that goes into the consolidated fund, not all should go in. A percentage of it, when we set up the sports fund, should go into that fund. So this one is not going to come from
so it means
the winnings.
The winnings.
It's not going to come from the winnings. The one we promised that we are doing away with, we are going to do away with that. Surely, when the finance minister presents the budget statement on behalf of His Excellency the President, somewhere in March, the betting tax will be one of the taxes that will surely and necessarily go. But the taxes on the stakes.
I think your position is not too far from what I've advocated all this while. That there should be a tax on the stake, and that should go directly into a fund that will take care of sports. Because if you go elsewhere, the more developed and advanced countries, a lot of sporting activities are funded through taxes on lottery and also on betting, but on stake. And not when Justice Kole has played bet over 2 years and has not won. And one day, when he wins, then 10% of that is taken. That's
unfair.
A bit unfair.
That's unfair.
And I totally agree to that. But you mentioned that in the ways of funding sports, the sports minister's budget must reflect the president's commitment to developing sports. So, because those of us who have practiced sports media over the years have always had reasons to complain that we feel when the budget is read, it's just a minute percentage of the budget that is allocated for sport. Are we going to have a shift away from this norm where we are going to see an appreciable percentage of the budget dedicated to sports development?
Well, I know there are competing needs. There are a lot of things that the little we have must go into, and it's not only sports. I hope to see some improvement. Even if the figures stay as they were with the separation, it gives an indication of what? An improvement. Because in the past, possibly you were dealing with youth and sports. And so if dealing with just sports only, and you still get the same figures, that in a way, indirectly, is an improvement. But I hope to see something even more than what has gone into, especially with the kind of commitments that we made, with the kind of promises that we made to have established a university, to also build the modern stadia in regions without such facility, and to see to refurbish not renovate. We must refurbish and modernize our existing stadia. We must not just go and renovate them and pick out the worn-out seats and fix new seats and do. No, that is not what we must do to our sports. We must modernize our stadia. And in that spirit, we can also generate some revenue out of a modernized stadium, so that they will not just be there for purposes of only playing football or any other game, but you can utilize, there will be a lot of activities around those facilities that will generate a lot more revenue. So I hope to see some improvement in the budgetary allocation to the ministry. I have not had the opportunity of meeting with the finance minister yet. I know they are putting their figures and everything together, and the decisions of America to stop some support through USAID and what have you will impact our budget by all means, because a lot will be lost through such decisions. And so locally we must look for opportunity to fill all those gaps. And so there are a lot of competing needs, and I appreciate the time we find ourselves in. But whatever little that comes, I can assure Ghanaians that we will use it in such a way that it will benefit all of us.
Okay, I see. But from what you mentioned, it seems, or it looks like you're going to be paying particular attention to infrastructure.
Sure, we would have to look at, because infrastructure is key. If talents get identified and you don't have infrastructure for them to train with and to use, where lies your sports? So the talents that have been identified must be helped to develop, and then you promote them. So infrastructure is key in the development of sports before you can promote it, so that when you promote it, you get the value of it. So we will pay some attention to infrastructure. We'll have to refurbish and modernize what exists and add new to where we do not have at all. Some regions currently do not even have any stadium facility for sports, for any sport at all. You go there and they do not have. So we need to work on all these. Because you see, one thing sports also does, and especially the recreational aspect of it, if you are able to invite all of us to participate in active life, it tends to reduce the impact of non-communicable diseases. Non-infectious diseases tend to reduce if you increase sporting lives of people. People become more active, people walk more, people do all kinds of recreational sports. It tends to reduce the impact of non-communicable diseases. And that will directly also mean that the budget spending in those areas would also reduce. Productivity will be high because people will not be reporting to hospital more often, but they will be healthier and be at work more.
Now, still on infrastructure and talking about your position on modernizing our existing facilities. One of the issues we have had with the Confederation of African Football has to do with the quality of our pitches and how we are able to maintain them. Recently, there's been an advocacy from infrastructure expert Alhaji Salifu Sinkari of Blaze Investment to turn some of the surfaces of our existing facilities into a modern hybrid pitch, which will even be more familiar with what our foreign-based players are used to, because they play on it. Is this something that you would consider?
Seriously, I am not for these synthetic pitches that we are doing all over with some of the material, poor quality material. And AstroTurf, these synthetic AstroTurfs are done, and sometimes we are told you're supposed to have a lifespan of 10 years. After a year or two, one rain, and it's washing everything away. I'm not for it. I'm for the hybrid that mixes the synthetic and the natural grass, so that it gives it a better life and then a better flair for the players to use, both local and foreign. So I'm all out for such technology, because that is what is working, and that's what has worked in many of the areas. And the truth is that it's even easier to maintain. It's even easier to maintain.
We had a conversation with the expert, and he said that it is easier to maintain the hybrid pitches than the natural grass and even the artificial. So are you going to be inviting some of these experts to have conversations?
Sure. I'm just happy you've mentioned a name. So I will take the details of all those persons, because we really need to know it. We can't continue to have instances and situations where our pitches are so bad, for which reason sometimes we get banned. Sometimes they tell you can't play your match here because your pitch is so bad. No, it's not a good thing for our sports. And so if there is something available that is cheaper I won't call it cheaper, that is less expensive to maintain, I think that it is appropriate that we go for it in order to be able to grow our sports without any defect.
Okay, but with the AstroTurfs you spoke about, that you are not for, especially the ones that we do and then they do not live up to its lifespan. Is it about the type of pitch, or it is about your challenge has to do with the quality? Because for many that have praised someone like Robert Coleman of Wembley Sports Complex, who brought the idea, they feel it is a form of security for our pitches, because it was at a time where a lot of estate developers, churches were taking over our community pitches. And then there are some of them that have also done quality job that have lasted 8 years, 7 years. So is it that you are entirely against the idea of the AstroTurf, or those that are doing shoddy works that are not living up to its lifespan?
I'm against shoddy work, and I'm against substandard pitches.
Okay.
You see, I read of a reported incident where, because of the size of the pitch and because of the allowable space between what we call the touch line and the fence was not standardized. A player who was chasing a ball have to hit his head against the fence, resulting in serious injury to his. And that player today can no longer play. So standard. If the space, I agree that, well, they wanted to secure the space because we were taking over every space that was available and raising blocks and tiles and what have you. It's a good idea to try and preserve some space. But it is wrong to go and, in the name of preserving space, produce substandard pitches and what have you. Those who are doing well, I salute them. It has helped in many ways. Some have not done the pitches well, and you see players complaining of sometimes injury to their hips and their knees, and then because of the surface, the nature of the. So we're going to look into all this. We're going to do proper assessment so that if few people are allowed, are licensed to do that, and when they have to do it, they do it up to standard, the better. I will prefer that we have 50 standardized, well-done AstroTurfs than have 160 poorly done AstroTurfs. That will result in injury to your athletes and your players. Because what is the essence of having AstroTurfs that will not allow talents to grow? That they play on it, and because of that, they have injuries and they cannot lift their career to professional level because they were playing on bad pitches.
So you feel that those that are doing quality work must be separated from those that are doing the poor work, licensed, so that we can be sure that what they are doing becomes useful to the ordinary Ghanaian.
Sure.
Okay.
And we will be introducing a lot of also licensing regimes. I don't know whether Works and Housing Ministry license some of these contractors. If they do, the sports ministry itself will also have to issue you with another license for you to qualify to go and do any construction that is sports related. We will not just allow people to just walk about and say that I'm a contractor, so I am going to do this. You need to be licensed so we can follow through. So if we license you, we regulate you. And when we regulate you, we would make sure you are doing the right thing. doing the right thing.
Oh no, but let's come to football. Many of our viewers are texting and they are waiting for us to delve into the happenings in our football. From your point of view, what is the state of our game? From the checks you have made, from observations, what is the state of our football, especially the local front?
Our football remains the passion of the nation.
Yeah.
That is why no matter how we are doing well in any other sport, when we fail in football, then it's like you have failed completely. So we need to pay some attention to our football, whether we like it or not. It will continue to be that big mama, that big papa, that big sport out there that must be supported, because it is equally also well organized from the grassroots all the way up to the professional level. It's well structured. Maybe I should not use organized, it's structured, because we need to really organize it well. But we've had challenges with our sports, and you can see it in our league, the performances, whether it is sponsorship, lead sponsors, and so on and so forth, that you're struggling to get. Why is it that the same doesn't happen in Europe and it's happening here in our country? It means that something is wrong somewhere that we need to pay some attention at and help lift it up. Why is it the case that people are ready to leave, even fellow African countries that are in war, to go and play there? Why are they willing to leave Ghana to go and play there? There's something wrong that we need to check. And when your league is working well, is doing well, it reflects on your national teams. When your league and your grassroots sports or your grassroots football is doing well, you can see it in all your national teams. Okay. Because when the intercolleges and interschools were doing so well, you saw how we were doing well in the aged national teams like the under-15s, the under-17s. But once the school sports reduced to once in every 2 years, and even in these 2 years, some persons may go through school without participating, it affected our junior national teams. And because we were not getting good quality junior national teams, it's affecting our senior national teams also. So there's a lot that we must do in our football. But my style is that I'm not seeing anybody as the problem, even though I have seen the problem. I have decided...
You have seen the problem?
I have seen the problem.
What is the problem?
I have decided, I will not mention it here. I have decided not to say that this human being is the problem. I think that that human being can be part of the solution, because I see something in that human being that even people think that is the problem. We can sit together and be part of the solution to resolving the problems that we have seen in our football especially.
So you mentioned that our football is well structured. You mentioned that we have talent. You mentioned that people have said that a person is the problem, and that even though you know that person is the problem, that person can be part of the solution. Is that to say that the challenges with our football, or the major problem with our football, has not got to do with structures, but probably personnel or an individual person?
Well, there's a bit of a structure issue that must equally be resolved along the line.
Okay.
But I don't see it as a major problem. There's a bit of a structure issues that must be dealt with, especially for African settings. Some of the FIFA rules and the rest really have not helped us in African side to be able to grow our sport, especially the football. So I have become aware that there are some provisions even in the FIFA regulations that if a country sign on to, at least it allows you some level of control and decision in some ways or the other. So there are a few structural problems. I'm not saying that the structure is perfect, excellent, and fit for purpose. There's a certain structural issues. But I see more of organizational problems than actual thing. Well, that's where the human beings come in. And even these human beings, I don't see them as the problem. I see them as part of the solution. See them as part of the solution. And they can truly be part of the solution. And that's why a lot of consultation is going on. Okay. It is only if those persons want to remain where they are, then you can be seen now as part of the problem. The problem has been identified. Solutions are being proposed. You can be part of the proposition of the solutions. But if you insist you want to stay where you are, then the human beings now, I will have no other excuse but to add the human beings to the problem and treat them also as the problem. But for now, I'm not treating any human being as the problem.
How are you going to be treating them as a problem? Are you going to get rid of them out of office?
Well, let's get to that bridge. For now, I think that conversation have begun. And
okay.
It looks and sounds positive.
Okay.
From where I sit.
Okay.
So I don't want to begin to indicate what I will do if they continue to be, if they reach a stage where they should be treated as a problem. So I want to see everybody as part of the solution.
Okay, but do you think we need a lot of attitudinal shift or change with the persons managing our football?
Well, not just the persons managing our football, but all of us, including you in the media. Those managing, those in the media, those in policy, and all of us have to change our the players also.
Okay.
Our attitude towards our country, our clubs, and what have you. Okay. All of us need a shift.
Okay. People have been reviewing some of the early statements you've made while you were named as the Minister Designate for Sport and Recreation, and the few days you have spent in office. The GFA must go through the NSA. The GFA is not an independent body. The GFA football officials will no longer fly on first class. And people feel that your posture is one that says you may not be working cordially with the Football Association.
Well, what is it that I have said which should make you not work with me?
Okay.
We have a law that was passed by our... In this country, we have structures. We say Parliament passes laws. The executive must see to implementing the laws that are passed by our parliament. And in case we go wayward from the laws, the judiciary will deal with us. The law is very clear that in our country called Ghana, there is an agency called National Sports Authority. That National Sports Authority regulates and superintends over all federations and associations. And everything they do must go through them to the ministry. So I am only speaking to what the law says.
Okay.
So any other person who wants to behave to the contrary is rather the one who is engaged in what? Something that is lawless. So it is not me. And very soon, as part of our programs, we're going to really take out the task of educating the sporting clubs and then various federations and associations that we have in this country on this Sports Act and also the regulation that governs the Act. We'll have to let people understand what it says and how we'll do. But of course, it also means that the material we put at the National Sports Authority as Director Generals and deputies and board members and what have you should be materials that you cannot question about. But if they themselves are not well informed and they are just there to occupy a space, then you will not be able to do what is expected of you.
Okay. Oh, now, if you said that the FA must go through the NSA to reach the sports ministry, what are we talking about? Is it the programs of the national teams and other activities? Does it include the budget?
Every federation must have their program of action. Sometimes for a year, for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, the long-term programs you must have. And this must be submitted to the National Sports Authority. The National Sports Authority is more like the technical wing also of the ministry. So they should receive this, look at it, and be able to come to the ministry and sit with the minister and his people and advise. Then the minister can look at it and say, oh no, this can be done this way. Let's improve this way. So if you don't take your program through the technical wing of the ministry, and you want to just deal straight with either the ministry or straight with the Jubilee House or what have you, then it tends to create problems for us. I think that if we plan well and we put our programs in place ahead of time, there will be no problem going through NSA. But it is because we wait till maybe 3 weeks or 1 month to when you have a competition and you have to be rushing. So there's no time. So you cannot go through NSA anymore. Then you are forced to deal with it, to come to the ministry, or even sometimes, if care is not taken, you jump the ministry and be having conversation with the chief of staff or some other higher person.
So is it just the programs that must go through the Sports Authority, or it includes the budget?
Well, if your program is going through, your program comes with what? Budgets proposed and what have you. Okay. Proposed budgets. And that's why I'm saying if we plan ahead of time. Okay. Look, we go for competitions all the time. So we should know ahead of time that if we are going to participate in qualifiers for this, these are possible indicative cost heads that we are expecting. So all things being equal, this is what we are going to get. Yes, we don't run our state with dollars, but since that is more of a stable currency, you can cost your things ahead of time, maybe in a much more stable currency, so that even if things happen at all, we just know that it's an adjustment that we will do to it. If you do that and you present it ahead of time, the agency will be able to discuss with you and discuss with the ministry, and the ministry will see ahead of them and plan. But if you decide that, oh no, I am too big to be managed by an agency that lawfully has been placed to do so, then it won't help all of us to grow. So I'm only talking about what the law says. I didn't pass the law. It's not one man who is directing that go and do this. That is what the law says. So I do admit that there are times when, because we did not present our program of action early enough and our budgets early enough, going through all those channels becomes a difficult situation, and so you deal with the ministry.
So now it's a standard that the FA's budget must go through the NSA.
Well, I'm saying that is what the law says. But there are instances where it becomes difficult. That means that me as minister, I'm going to be insisting on federations and associations to plan ahead of time and route these plans through the National Sports Authority.
Okay. Again, another thing we have heard you say is that the footballing community or the football people or the FA will no longer be flying on first class if government is the one funding the budget. And I ask, is it just for officials or it includes the players?
Well, clearly, if the president have directed all of us not to fly on first class tickets, why should anybody within Ghana want to do that? Why will anybody want to do that? For the players, mostly, basically, they fly on business already. So there will be nothing. You are not doing anything. And I'm told even the officials, they fly, unless it's a chartered flight. If it's a chartered flight and there's first class in the chartered flight, that one, we won't say that when you charter a flight and there's a first class seat in the chartered flight, you will not sit because you've chartered the entire flight. Okay. But then hardly do we charter flights that have first class seating. Mostly flights that are chartered are those with very minimal business class seats. Sometimes you have maybe about 6 or 10 business class seats, and the rest is economy. So you can ask them to reconfigure the planes to accommodate some space, leg space for the players, because it's a chartered flight. And so we're not going to spend unnecessarily, and that one is a fact. When some of them read, they called me up and told me that they don't even fly first class. So it means
business class is acceptable.
No, of course, business class is acceptable. At best, you cannot rule that out. Maybe if you are doing a journey that is so long, you can squeeze them in economy class and then for such a long trip. But if we are just doing Okay. 2 hour, 1 hour, 3 hour flight, and that is what is available. We will, of course, manage.
Okay. Honorable, we'll be wrapping up shortly. The time you give us is almost up, so maybe let me do a few messages and then just about 3 questions, and then we will wrap up. A very good friend of mine who works with the Gaming Commission sent a message. He says that, I'm sure he would want to remain anonymous. He says, there is currently no tax on stakes. Okay. He says there is currently no tax on stakes. The tax on stakes is worse than the tax on winnings. Think about it this way. Would you prefer to pay a tax on winnings or stakes which does not guarantee you the win? But I'm sure that the tax you are proposing on stake will be one that will not affect
the one staking.
Yes.
Because you, who is taking the money, must be able to also incur some cost, because the sports upon which you are making money must be spent. So you must also contribute something.
Okay.
So in this case, if the companies are already not paying any tax on the stakes that they take from those who stake the sport, those who bet the sport, then they should be ready that it's an area that we will be looking at seriously. Okay. They must pay something.
Okay.
I can't come and stake or bet and pay 10 cedi, and then you take all the 10 cedi, whether I win or not, and the state gets nothing from you. There should be a tax on it.
Okay. Let's do other message. This one says, good morning, sir, and your fellow guest. On today's issue, I'm not surprised with the happenings now. Okay. Let me go to some other messages. This one says, please ask the Honorable Minister about sports infrastructure in his region, the OT region. I'm not sure you would find even one AstroTurf in OT region. The closest is Hohoi, and whether he would develop some infrastructure in OT. This one is coming from my stylist and musician, Bosheba Deshain, who sends us from Achimota. Okay. This message reads, it says, good morning, Mike. Please ask Minister what his decision about TV rights on the GPL is. Okay, that is from Ibrahim Guma. Good morning, Mr. Odru. Happy to see the Minister on your show. Honorable Kofi is a no-nonsense man, and we believe that he will not condone with anything in the form of corruption in the ministry. We wish him the best. Ima from Mataheko. Our regular guest, Jerry Efriye Pemka, sends a message. He says, good morning, Michael. All over in sub-Sahara Africa, Europe and beyond, companies that produce alcoholic beverages are major sponsors of sporting events. But in Ghana, such companies are legally prevented from investing in sports. Which is your opinion on this situation in Ghana? I think that's a very interesting point. I'll do this before I get into other messages. You speak to alcoholic, producers, companies that brew alcoholic beverages, about sponsorship for sports, and they say they can't advertise between morning and 8 p.m. Yeah, so is it an area you see some potency of financial or revenue stream or revenue generation? And then what are you going to be doing about this?
I've heard this concern, and it's one of the issues that I will be engaging first the Attorney General and Minister for Health, because I hear that it is the Foods and Drugs Authority Act that made that provision in there. And same has been tested in the Supreme Court recently by our celebrities, because that they cannot advertise alcoholic drinks and so on and so forth. So they went to court. The Supreme Court ruled that that is what it is. And so we may only be looking at an amendment if we really want participation. But you see, the truth of the matter is that you are stopping them from advertising here. And because of that, they are not making their money available to your sports. The same alcoholic companies go to sponsor the EPLs, which is shown on DSTV. And most homes today have DSTV. So the kids you're saying should not watch are watching anyway. The only thing you see there that, alcohol is not good for under 18. They are watching DSTVs. 60% of our homes have DSTV. So what are you stopping?
Pop-out adverts on social media
platforms. Social media platforms. They have the remaining percentage that don't have DSTV, they have phones that they watch all the time. So what are you stopping? You are rather losing money that would have gone into your sports that will help improve sports infrastructure, that when these kids have watched that sport on DSTV and what have you, they can have a facility to go and practice. Or when they are practicing it, they will get well paid because there is sponsorship. The sponsorship package is good. But we are denying ourselves all these, and the kids are watching on DSTV, and when they finished and they don't get the infrastructure to try it or practice it, or when they are practicing it, they are not well motivated or not well paid. What ends up happening, they go and do rather the bad thing. Okay. So I seriously think that we need to revisit that law, and I'll be raising this strongly at cabinet for us to see what we can do about it. One other person asked about sports facility in my region. It's poor. Unfortunately, our region has been denied, not even when we were together under Volta region, will I say we had much, because the whole sports stadium is in a sorry state. And so sports infrastructure, there will be some focus in regions or zones that do not have this facility. We will pay some attention to such zones to make sure that we have zonal infrastructure that can serve a zone. If we cannot do every region immediately, you must look at zones that do not have such infrastructure and attempt to locate such infrastructure in such areas to benefit the people.
Now, talking about infrastructure, the previous government attempted building 10 youth resource centers. Some of them, Kufuor, I know, is complete. Some of them have been completed, others have not. Well, now that the youth ministry has been separated from, youth has been separated from the sports ministry. Now, who takes custody or who takes care of these facilities? Well, and what is the plan, if there is any, for the remaining that are incomplete?
The facility was under the National Youth Authority. Yeah. When it was an agency under the Youth and Sports Ministry. But the thing about the facility is that about 70% of or more of those youth resource centers is sports related. So it will make sense to have them managed by what? The sports ministry. Because I believe that if the previous administration had separated the Ministry of Youth from sports, the youth resource centers, in the manner that they were designed, would not have been placed under the Youth Development Ministry. It would necessarily would have come under the Sports Ministry, and therefore maybe the National Sports College would have been an agency that would have taken care, or the National Sports Authority would have been the agency that would have pushed it. So there will be conversation. But the truth is that a lot of these resources, including even the Abril one that you said has been completed, is not completed. Yeah, it's not completed. We were told phase 1 was completed, phase 2 is ongoing, and even when the president went there to commission it, it was all full of bushes and what have you. And I read again in the papers that another 5 was ready for commissioning. And when you ask where are they, the one at Adaklu was one of the centers that was mentioned. But if you pass Adaklu now, you can see that that facility is even 70% complete, even from viewing it from outside. They did something for the Independence Day anniversary that was sent to the Volta region, and after that, nothing has happened. But we need to complete those facilities also and make sure that they are put to good use.
But when I was leaving, one other issue is something that is captured in your manifesto. When I was leaving house this morning, and I mentioned to my son, Kwesi Asma, who plays for Hearts for Folk. He recently got transferred from Nagod FC to Accra Hearts for Folk. He said that his colleagues at Hearts for Folk said he should tell me to ask that the president promised that when he takes that the Premier League players will be given some allowance. How far have we gone with it, and when do we hope to start paying these allowances to the players?
We will initiate engagement with the professional league club owners as to how the modalities and the formalities should be. That has not happened yet. But we are committed to that manifesto promise because we think it will help improve the income level of these players so that many of them who pack their bags and go through all kinds of tortuous journeys to war-torn areas to go and play just because they feel like they can earn something more there, will stay here, play here, and we will have them feature in our national teams easily because there will be some level of cohesion. Those days when you had a number of either Haas players or Kotoko players or RTU players in the national team, we saw a better cohesion and a better formation than we have today, where you're just picking them from all over the world and no real coordinated play before maybe bringing them together, sometimes for a very short time before a major match. Okay,
I see. And now there's one from the producer. He says one of the challenges we had with the previous government and ministry was the late payment of bonuses to especially the women national team. Often we had issue. How are you going to be managing that?
I think, like I said, our football has been focused more on Black Stars.
Okay.
All the other levels, even male, not just women, male suffer same challenges.
Okay.
That we are in, sometimes we are in arrears, they have to agitate before they get paid and what have you. So women football will receive some attention. And we will do so when we work very hard to also make savings from the running of what? Black Stars.
Okay.
And I believe that we can make some savings in the running of what? Black Stars. And once we make some savings there, it makes it easier to honor the commitments to what? The other sports and especially the other football, whether male or female.
So that the Black Stars becomes the cash cow on which the others may feed.
Well, that's because it's the mainstay of our of the country. Anytime Black Stars don't qualify and they don't go far in every competition, how do we feel? We feel so bad.
Okay. This one says, good morning, Michael. We need proper infrastructure and good policies to help football thrive. Okay. Now, talking about the Black Stars, I'm sure the ordinary Ghanaian football follower or consumers' biggest expectations the next 2-3 years is to qualify for the World Cup.
Yes.
We have just missed out on the Africa Cup of Nations that will be played later this year in Morocco. How do you ensure that we get to play in Mexico, Canada, and the United States in the World Cup of 2026?
Well, I can assure you that whatever government must do, government will do to support the playing body and the management to be able to do what they must also do right to help us qualify. And necessarily so, that's why in few days' time, when the FA president is back home and the vice is also available, we'll be having some serious engagement.
Okay.
The technical team of the Black Stars especially. I know a lot of Ghanaians have made comments about the technical team, and we represent Ghanaians, so we must carry these concerns to have engagement with them. Government pays the technical team, and the money we use in paying them is the money we take from the people. So we must be interested in what goes in there. They took all those decisions before we could put in place or nominate even the Minister for Sports. And so I had no role. I have checked with the persons responsible for sports during the transition period. They also tell me they played no role. So there's a need to re-engage on that. If after the engagement, answers are very satisfactory and we feel like, well, the decision that has been made is in the best interest of Ghana and it must stay as such, we will communicate to Ghanaians. If it is the case that the answers is not satisfactory, the data that we analyze and the financial commitments will not throw us off balance, then we will see to take the right decision that will help strengthen our senior national team.
But do you think those were rushed decisions, especially when there was a new government and a new minister was going to be named?
If you were in their shoes, what would you have done? I know you asked the questions, but in this case, what would you have done? Many have told me they would have possibly waited to at least see indication before taking that decision. So, and I share the view of those who really had that. Maybe you would have avoided all these discussions now. Maybe the question you would have been asking me is, what went into taking this decision, and not what will you do? And I would have been very well informed from the word go.
But I know you have data on the Black Stars' performances, especially under
if you look at the data, it's not
if you analyze the data, do you have confidence in Coach Otuado to take us to the World Cup?
The data is very poor. The data is terrible. If you're looking at the data only, then there's no way you... And that's why the FA itself took a decision to, do away with all of them. So one was surprising that the head of the team was maintained, and then the rest were asked to it. So we will check. As for the data, you have it, and anyone looking at the data will know that no, this is no. But maybe something informed that decision.
Okay.
If it may be financial, it may be some enhancement of technical capacity and what have you. An engagement will necessarily let us know what it is that led to that decision.
Okay. Niama Sean Katai sends us a message and says, what about the girls playing the league? Would they also receive, and if they will, I suggest it should be equal because they either earn less salary or do not earn at all. Good morning and good luck to Senior Adams Honorable.
Well, he's trying to lobby for expansion. We will look at it when we get in there. Don't forget that these monies must be reached. I agree with him that women, sports women have not been treated fairly. They've not been treated fairly. Even where they are playing the same sport, just like their men counterpart, we have not treated them fairly. Okay. Even where they have won laurels for us in recent times than maybe our men have brought to the table, we still have not treated them well and fairly. So it's a case to make that we need to look at.
Jerry Afriye Pemka comes in again and says, what is your position on the payment of allowance, whether allowances or appearance fees to management committee members of our national teams, especially the Black Stars? And will you continue to pay that?
Where are they appearing that they have to be paid?
So let's say
the whole idea of, for me, appearance, even for our playing body, is something that I'm going to be engaging with the playing body once again. Truly going to be engaging them. The issue of even winning bonuses, yes, bonuses is a thing that appears in most countries. But at the levels, we may have to look at it and have an engagement. I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh, it is this or it is that. But I believe that we should have an engagement. And that engagement we must have with the minister present. The minister must play a role because you represent government, you represent the state. I will not leave it for some people to go and have the engagement and come and tell me. I need to be part of that engagement. And we speak to ourselves. We lay bare what is available and how to do it. And I believe that the players, they will love to play for their country. Because many of them are doing a lot of social intervention with even income they are earning out there. So how much more if the country engage them and engage them right? They will not want to wear the jersey and wear it proudly and not necessarily be looking at appearance fees or bonuses that will be given them, most of which sometimes they end up spending even before they fly back to base because it's really not much to them.
Yashin Lai, former team manager, Kwando Heart of Lions, Ankoti United Centre Mate, says, Kofi, you've asked very relevant questions and the minister is always precise with his answers. He doesn't talk much and I love that. I wish him well. Yashin is my name. Thanks for doing the watching Yasin Lai. Akwe says, my sports journalist analyst, I believe it's only trained football coaches who are hired for teams which you know. All the questions you are asking the minister has nothing to do with his bringing anything to bear on the ministry. You spoke about problems with the ministry which had happened before. You journalists did not measure. One minister had just left. What was his achievement? Okay. Ayikwe ni. This one says, hello, sports minister. I hope you will be doing something about the new Black Stars technical team because I have never heard of any technical advisor coach helping the main coach. Okay. This one says, good morning, Mike. Please ask the minister about our senior players who they always retire early from our national team, especially Black Stars. Seth from Kiseman. Okay. Guma comes back to say I should ask his question about the Ghana Premier League right. I don't know if you have any rule or you have any suggestions.
Well, I told you when I came in this morning, I was having engagement with some of your colleagues. They made some proposition that I think will impact positively on the Premier League if we post it. Okay. So, to assure him, we will be looking into things we can do to improve upon the league. We all admit that it's not the best. It's not the best. Okay. Not the best.
Okay. Honorable, two more things and then we will wrap up this conversation. The final one on football will be the issues of hooliganism. And then we'll take a look at how you hope to manage and develop the, in quotes, least financed sport. You met the officials of the Football Association, the General Secretary was there, ESCO members. I saw the competitions manager in the picture. I saw the head of safety and also in the picture. What briefing were you given? What do you make of the state of the safety and security at our match venues and the issue that has happened?
Well, what I observed was the FA itself going low on their own regulations that governs the Premier League clubs and what the standards that they have set in their rules and protocols. I think I don't know whether to call it the empathy part took a center stage of their consideration. Some have argued that, it's because some FA members themselves are also club owners. And if they decide to push very hard, they will be victims of their own pushing. Well, I will not take away from those persons who argue that way. But whatever it is, they have very good protocols on paper, which I think was not applied to the letter. And that is why we have agreed that there was going to be a reassessment of all venues. We're going to have a team from FA, from the Ministry, from National Sports Authority. We will do a reassessment of all venues. And we will come out with venues that meet the minimum standard that can be used for the Premier League matches. And that is only then, it is only after we have done this that we can allow the resumption of the league. If after the assessment, only 11, 12, or 13 that are okay, and the rest are not, we will play only on the 10, we will play only on the 8, that by zoning them, so you can adapt any of the zones to play as your home. Okay. The rest will be, because we will not allow any lower standards that could result in some of the things that we see happening. Okay. But we will continue to have fan coaching. But in our situation also, the club owners themselves sometimes contribute to some of these hooliganism. So the club owners, we will not leave them out in the training and the engagement. To know that their selfish acts sometimes affect the whole sport. Because some of those acts is what is keeping sponsors away. Because they will not want to associate their brand with such activities and such occurrences. So you behave yourself well, you may lose a match today. But because you have a good sponsorship package, you can do things right and you will bounce back and win another time. So we will be engaging them, we'll be talking to the fans, do a lot of fan coaching, and of course, promotion of fight against hooliganism. And for this act that happened in Swatre, when Kotoko played in Swatrema FC, we would make sure that anyone found guilty is punished, and punished such that it will serve as a deterrent for any other person in future who dreams, who is recruited to take part in that act. One other thing we're going to insist is the issue of CCTV cameras in our playing, our stadium. We'll make sure that these will not contain us. It must be available so that at least people will know that, hey, there are CCTV cameras observing. And the security that will be deployed, the body cams, when fans also know that the police are done with body cams and they are recording events as they happen, they will be careful that aside the CCTV, police have body cams recording events that is happening around them. That if we misbehave, we will easily be found out later and arrested and prosecuted.
Okay. Honorable, boxing, athletics, and the, in quote, least finance sport. What is the plan to put these sports back on the map?
Well, first and foremost, when we appoint a Director General for National Sports Authority, one of the first assignments I'm going to be giving to the person will be to recategorize, reclassify our other sports, what we describe as least financed. There must be categorization. All of them should not be treated same. So some of them will remain just national, for national purposes. They should not come to NSA or even come to Sports Ministry to begin to ask for funding to go for international competition when they have not proven themselves locally. So we will classify category A, B, C, and possibly D, with the A being sports that have the potential to win laurels at the international level, and B being those that can perform so well at continental level. And then C, of course, those who have potential to win at the continental level. And then D will just be for national purposes. And maybe we describe them as recreational sports. But it can be recreational now, but it has the potential that we can grow it for it to become a competitive sport. So when we categorize it, then funding can be appropriately allotted. And I want us to have an Olympic cycle funding so that you don't wait till a year or two before you begin to support. You must have a 4-year program to support an athlete to be able to grow himself or herself in the sport. So the person goes to compete today, makes it in the first round with a good time. You don't stop supporting the athlete maybe after the competition. You must support the athlete all through with coaching, with training. And so the scholarship secretariat will not be giving scholarship only for academic purposes. We must also give scholarship for sports purposes, so that people can go to places like Jamaica. If you are an athlete, maybe 100 meters, 200 meters, that's the best place to take them to, so they can train well whilst they have their education also and be ready to compete in the next level. So scholarship secretariat, I'll be going to them.
Thank you very much. We are grateful for your time. Maybe before you leave, your final words to our viewers and the general Ghanaian sports fans.
Well, my only appeal is for us to pray for our sports, especially our Black Stars, and continue to show the love. Never be tired showing love. That's what sports need. Even when we are down, we must show the love. That is what will motivate the people to rise up again. They don't need some of the words that we use on the playing body out of anger. I can understand that sports is full of passion. That's why people can kill. But that is not what it should be. So let's show more love. Let's say no to hooliganism. It doesn't help. It doesn't have space in our sports. Let's show love. And that is what I expect from all of them. And to the corporates, please be ready. Put in something, because it will go a long way to help all of us and help you also. Thank you for the
Thank you very much, Honorable Kofi Adams, Member of Parliament for the Buem constituency and the Minister for Sports and Recreation. We're grateful for the time this morning. I'm sure you must have enjoyed this conversation with the Honorable Minister. We'll do the UEFA Champions League highlights out of the way. 4 matches played in the playoff stage, 4 more to go down today, after which Jonathan Akron, Kwabena Santin Fojo, Kobe Jones, and Coach Ebenezer Sefa are in the house. Let's do highlights from the UEFA Champions League.